Have you ever found yourself standing in the middle of a crowd yet still feeling completely alone? You're surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues, but deep inside, there's an emptiness that no one seems able to fill. Loneliness. This feeling can weigh you down, leaving you feeling left behind and misunderstood. But what if I told you that loneliness could be one of the greatest gifts in your life? What if I told you that in that silence, in that solitude, you might uncover a hidden strength and a chance to connect deeply with yourself? It may sound unusual, but Buddhism offers profound insights that help us transform loneliness from a source of suffering into a blessing. Stay with me in this video to explore how we can confront loneliness, find inner peace, and turn time alone into a meaningful journey of self-discovery. This isn't just a video about loneliness, it's an invitation for you to embark on a journey of self-understanding and self-compassion. To address loneliness, we must first understand its roots. So often, we think our loneliness stems from outside circumstances, a breakup, friends moving away, or family members growing distant. But is it really that simple? Buddhism teaches us to look deeper. As the Buddha himself said, suffering does not always arise from external conditions, instead, it often grows from within, from our own desires and expectations. Have you ever noticed that you can feel lonely even when surrounded by family, friends, or colleagues? That's because loneliness is not solely the absence of people, it's the absence of meaningful connection. It's the gap between what we desire from our relationships and what we actually experience. This mismatch creates a sense of emptiness, a void that we often struggle to fill. The Buddha explained this beautifully with the metaphor of a tree. Imagine a tree that has been cut down but left with its roots intact. Despite being chopped, it sprouts again because the roots are still there. In the same way, loneliness persists because the root of our suffering, our cravings, our unfulfilled expectations, remains deeply buried within us. Until we address these roots, loneliness will continue to sprout back into our lives, no matter how many branches we trim away. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine you have a friend whom you deeply care about. You expect them to always be there for you, to understand you completely, and to support you in your darkest hours. But when this friend is unavailable or distracted by their own life, a pang of loneliness creeps in. Why don't they care about me as much as I care about them, you wonder. This expectation, though seemingly harmless, plants the seeds of loneliness. Buddhism teaches us to be mindful of these expectations. By expecting others to fulfill our desires, we unintentionally hand over control of our happiness to external sources. And when those sources fail, we feel hurt, disappointed, and lonely. So, how can we transform this feeling of loneliness? Buddhism suggests a powerful shift in perspective. Rather than fighting loneliness, we can view it as an opportunity to deepen our connection with ourselves. Here's a story from the life of the Buddha that perfectly illustrates this. Before his enlightenment, the Buddha practiced intense austerities, depriving himself of comfort to seek spiritual liberation. During this period, he had 5 companions who believed in his journey and supported him. But when the Buddha realized that these extreme practices were not the path to liberation, he abandoned them. His 5 companions, feeling disappointed and betrayed, left him. He was alone, in the heart of the jungle, with no followers, no friends, and no support. But here's the profound part, despite being abandoned, the Buddha did not feel lonely. This solitude became a powerful gift, allowing him to delve deeply into his own mind and confront the desires and attachments that bound him. In that quiet solitude, he found clarity and eventually attained enlightenment. This story offers us an incredible insight. Loneliness can become a blessing if we view it as a space for introspection, moment to reconnect with our innermost self. Let's talk about some practical steps you can take to transform loneliness into a source of inner strength. 1. Reflect on expectations. Start by asking yourself, what expectations am I placing on others? Write them down. Often, simply seeing these expectations on paper can help you realize how they might be contributing to your loneliness. Are you expecting others to be responsible for your happiness? Are you looking to them for validation? Reflecting on these questions helps us begin the process of letting go. 2. Spend time in solitude with intention. Loneliness often feels empty because we see it as a lack of companionship. But what if we saw it as time dedicated to self-discovery? Set aside moments in your day to be with yourself. Meditate, journal, or simply sit in silence. This practice not only helps fill the void, but also strengthens your relationship with yourself. 3. Nurture self-compassion. Many people struggling with loneliness are also battling self-criticism. Buddhism emphasizes self-compassion as a key to inner peace. Imagine you're comforting a friend who feels lonely. How gentle and kind would you be? Now, turn that same compassion inward. When feelings of loneliness arise, remind yourself that it's okay to feel this way. You are worthy of kindness, even, and especially, from yourself. 4. Cultivate gratitude. Finally, loneliness often blinds us to the blessings we already have. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't need to be grand, something as simple as the warmth of sunlight or a kind message from a friend. Over time, this practice trains the mind to focus on the abundance that exists, instead of the absence we may feel. Let's take the example of Emma, a young woman who recently moved to a new city for work. Initially, she was thrilled with the change, but as the days passed, loneliness crept in. Her family and friends were miles away, and her colleagues, though friendly, didn't feel like close companions. Emma felt isolated and missed the comfort of familiar connections. One evening, feeling particularly lonely, Emma stumbled upon a Buddhist podcast that talked about transforming loneliness into a blessing. Inspired, she decided to apply some of the ideas. She started spending her evenings journaling, reflecting on her own expectations and desires. She realized that she had expected her new colleagues to fill the gap left by her family and old friends. This expectation had led to her feeling disconnected. By shifting her perspective, Emma found herself more at peace. She began to embrace solitude, exploring her new city, reading books she had always wanted to read, and nurturing a newfound love for cooking. Emma's loneliness didn't disappear overnight, but it transformed. She found joy in her own company, and with time, she started forming meaningful connections, not out of desperation but from a place of inner contentment. In the end, loneliness is not something to fear or run from. It's a rare opportunity to face ourselves, to explore and nurture the inner values that often go unnoticed in the busy flow of life. Remember, within the quiet space of solitude, we can discover true peace and grow stronger, more grounded. So, next time loneliness visits you, don't turn away. Embrace it as a friend. As a teacher, who shows you how to connect deeply with yourself and become the best version of who you are meant to be. If you found value in today's insights and would like to learn more about meaningful stories and profound lessons from Buddhism and self-discovery, be sure to subscribe to Growth Mindset. Join us on this journey of finding peace and unlocking wisdom. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, so you never miss an upcoming video. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos. Nam Buddhaya.